Hello and welcome back. Penneguini is back after about 2 months, and in those 2 months, I've played Dark Souls 3. So today we're ranking the dateability of every Dark Souls 3 boss. The series continues. I know you guys didn't think it was going to happen, but I'm here. I guess we'll get right into it. We'll start with the Abyss Watchers. Now, Abyss Watchers, bit of an issue already. Abyss Watchers brings like his whole band with him. You're not just dating one person, you're dating the whole group. And if you're into that, that's cool. That's cool. But personally, not me. I like that one-on-one connection. But Abyss Watchers, he brings to all of his friends, and they don't even sit politely. They're belligerent. They fight each other. They fight you. They fight him. It's an all-out brawl when the Abyss Watchers show up. They'd have the cafe. I always go first date. I always cafe. That's my go-to. Abyss Watchers, they tear the place up. It would not be cool. So Abyss Watchers going into the D tier for a first date. Aldrich, I'll be honest, Aldrich, he's the magic guy. That guy's messed up. So if you remember my last video, I gave Gwendolyn an S tier, and Aldrich killed Gwendolyn. I'm pretty sure. He's wearing his mask. Gwendolyn is nowhere to be found. That's another D tier right there. I mean, that's just rough. You killed my favorite guy from Dark Souls 1, so you're in the bottom. Ancient Wyvern, um, terrible boss fight, terrible date. Huge, doesn't say anything. I don't know the lore at all behind this guy. He just attacks you. People who have no reason to attack you but do, that's just messed up. That's a red flag. But he's a little better than the Abyss Watchers and Aldrich, I'd say, because he's just a jerk. He doesn't bring his friends along. He doesn't kill your friends. He's just a jerk. Champion Gundyr, is normal Gundyr on here? Okay, so I think Champion Gundyr is actually a pretty good option. Champion Gundyr, he may attack you, but he has a good reason. Like, you pulled the sword out of him, so he knows when and when not to use force. He'd probably protect me. He's a knight. He makes sure that people are ready to be the Ashen One, the chosen Ashen One. Like, he tests their strength before they go on their journey through Firelink Shrine. And I like a man with high standards. Champion Gundyr doesn't let anyone be the Ashen One. So that's A tier. That might put him in S tier, honestly, because we'll take Udix Gundyr. This Udix Gundyr loses points because he's like turns into a crazy monster when you hit him too much. Champion Gundyr, though, that's probably an S tier right there. Like, pretty good. This guy's a monster. This guy's a normal human. I mean, he has a weird choice of living in the abyss or wherever that place is. It's really dark, but I could get over that. Uh, Grave Great Wolf Contender. I can't read that. It's really small. Champion Grave Tender and the Great Wolf. So I'll be honest. I didn't get the DLC, so I never fought any of these guys. Um, he's a dog. I don't really like dogs, so um, yeah, that's probably C tier. I mean, I bet the champion grave tender is pretty normal, but he owns a dog, and I don't really like dogs, or she. I don't really know. Crystal Sage, Crystal Sage, really mid date, cause they live in like the poison swamp, but they aren't necessarily crazy. I mean, they have illusions. That goes back to the whole gaslighting thing that I mentioned in the last video. Like, you don't want to date people who cast illusions. Don't think too hard about the fact that I gave Gwendolyn S tier, but Crystal Sage, I wouldn't mess with that. That's probably a C tier right there. Curse Rotted Greatwood. I like a good environmentalist. You know, that's a B or A tier. I mean, Curse Rotted Greatwood isn't the most talkative, I'll admit, but they make up for it in their values, their environmental values. So probably a B tier, maybe A tier. Not, I think B tier, because the size difference is a bit rough. Dancer of the Boreal Valley. Dancer of the Boreal Valley has got that body. Real lanky, lean. People like that. Not me personally, but I'm just thinking hypothetically. For the wider dating appeal, you might be into that. Very graceful, can dance. I can't really dance, so that's pretty cool. Um, that's probably an A tier. Only downside is they kind of attack you out of nowhere. I don't really know the lore behind Dancer of the Boreal Valley. I don't know why they attacked you when you placed that thing in there. They just kind of like appeared, and that's a good transition to the Vort of the Boreal Valley. Kind of the same thing. I guess if you're into a more big boy kind of thing, for the winter, there was that whole TikTok sound. Vort fits that thing. So I think they're two sides of the same coin. Kind of come out of nowhere and attack you. Actually, that might put them to B tier. Kind of, you don't want someone unpredictable. But yeah, definitely solid contenders. I would definitely go on the first date. Dark Eater Midir also didn't fight him. I've heard he's very tanky, which you kind of want. You want a strong man in the relationship, someone who could protect you, and Dark Eater Midir is that guy. Loses points on size, but besides that, I think Dark Eater Midir, pretty good option. Oh, he did. I think in the lore he did go crazy eating the abyss. That's also losing points, so kicks him out of those A and S tier, but still pretty good option. Deacons of the Deep. You might remember why the Abyss Watchers got D. Deacons of the Deep. D is for Deacons of the Deep because brings all his friends and they're super religious. I mean, being religious is okay, but this is a crew of deacons right here, and they live in a messed up castle. There's giants and icky liquid all over the floor. Like that place is disgusting. And Patches lives in the attic for Christ's sake. I mean, I would not want to date the Deacons of the Deep. I don't even know. I guess you'd have to date all of them because it's the Deacons of the Deep, not just the Deacon. Demon Prince, is this is this the guy? No, I'm thinking of the old Demon King. The Demon Prince is the two of them, the Demon in Pain and the Demon from Below. Once again, loses points because he brings a friend, but it gains some points because he's a prince. And if you're a prince, you're probably rich. And money is everything, which sends the Demon Prince right to the A tier. That makes up for it. I'm trying to think if any of these people are rich. Maybe Aldrich? Nah, not really. He lives in like a decrepit castle. He kind of like uh he's like a squatter. Nobody lives there, so he just like chills because nobody's there to stop him anymore. Dragon Slayer armor. Now, I'm pretty sure I don't know any of the lore about the Dragon Slayer armor, but I'm pretty sure this is just a haunted set of armor. Like, there's no person in there. It's got the weird connection to those butterfly things, to which I have no idea what they are. So I think Dragon Slayer armor gotta go into D tier. I mean, come on, it's a set of armor. I mean, that's pretty badass. C tier. Half-Light, this is a DLC boss. I've heard that this is the one, I've seen like footage where it can summon a online, you can like fight them, like as an online person will come in and fight them. Uh, to me that kind of feels like speed dating. You don't know what you'll get with Half-Light, and I like consistency when I date someone. I don't want someone who's going to be a different person one day to the next. So that brings them down to C tier. They get points because they're my size, probably a good fit, body type wise, because we're both like humanoid, but loses points for the unpredictability. Lothric and Lorien. Now, this implies that you would be dating both of them. Um, One is paralyzed from the waist down, and the other is mute. That's a lot to deal with, no offense, but that with two of them, those are things I can't relate to. Those are things that you have to take those into account. And I think Lothric and Lorien uh, get an A tier, maybe S tier, because they're rich. Lothric and Lorien are the princes of Lothric Castle, and I think that puts them, in the A tier, even though they're a little crazy and they attack you without negotiating, and yeah, all those negatives can be ignored. Nameless King. Nameless King in the lore was a traitor to Gwyn, I'm pretty sure. I think it's his son, and I think he sided with the dragons. If you're able to turn on your father like that and side with the dragons, who aren't even personable, by the way, like the dragons aren't like a group, not that I know of, that are like, they don't really have a convincing goal. I don't know what the dragons want to do. I don't know why you'd side with them. So it raises a lot of questions, like if he would betray his father, would he cheat on me? And I think that's a real thing to consider, which is why probably D tier for the Nameless King. I don't even think he's rich because he's left. He's the Nameless King. Like nobody knows who he is. So that's a big loss. Osiris. Osiris is probably getting a D tier too. This time because I don't get what the hell he's talking about. I mean, I fought him. I beat him on my first try. Well, actually, I let myself die the first time so my friend could watch a boss, and I could not have shown him a lamer boss. I thought he'd be so much cooler. He's ugly. His attacks are boring. You can't hit him half the time because he's like his hitbox is weird. My straight sword was going right under him, like between his legs, and he's so annoying. He talks about his ocelot. I think he's taken. I don't know what the ocelot is, but he can have him. Like I don't want to mess with that. Old Demon King. He's on fire. He's on fire. I mean, you lose points for that kind of thing. He's a king though. A king of demons though. Like he doesn't have a castle. He's like he's in the smoldering lake. That really sucks, man. I wouldn't want to live there. That place is hot. I like the cold, which we'll get to. Pontiff Sullivan. This is probably one of my favorite bosses in the game, besides maybe Lorian, wherever he is. I forgot where I put him. Isn't he up here? Yeah, here. Pontiff Sullivan. He's a really cool guy, honestly. I don't know any of his lore, but oh, actually, I think I do. I think he's like a manipulator. I think he manipulated like Aldrich with his visions or whatever. Yeah, he is a manipulator, but he's a pontiff, whatever that means, which sounds pretty distinguished. So I think it's C tier for him. You know, he's got the two swords. He looks pretty badass. He just might be, you know, he might gaslight you a little bit, but that's okay sometimes. Sister Freed. Now, I didn't fight Sister Freed because I didn't get the DLC, obviously. That's a work in progress. Sister Freed, I'm pretty sure you fight her with her dad. Um, Somebody who brings her dad on a date. That's weird. That's a little strange. Although Sister Freed does make up for it for being a human female, which actually ranks you pretty high up in my list because, um, you know, that's kind of my type, human female. So Sister Freed being that gets her a lot of points. Um, Brings her dad, kind of strange, but I can get over it. Slave Knight Gale. Now, Slave Knight Gale, correct me if I'm wrong in the lore, because obviously I didn't play the DLC. He like traveled through time for like millennia, killing hollows, getting pieces of the Dark Soul for some girl so she could paint something. I don't really get why, but he was willing to do all that for her. Granted, that means he's taken, but it also means he's very loyal. And actually, people in relationships are known to be more desirable because you know that you know, they have dateability. So I'd say Slave Knight Gale. He wants the Dark Soul. He could take it from me. Like I would do anything for Slave Knight Gale, and he would do anything for me, and that's something I can get behind. So he goes right in the S tier with Champion Gundyr. The Soul of Cinder. Soul of Cinder. This is another probably like S tier because he guards that flame with his life, and you can't get that loyalty these kind of days. Like Slave Knight Gale, Soul of Cinder, Champion Gundyr, you just don't get that in this generation, which is why I would say Soul of Cinder definitely goes up there. He's been sacrificing himself to the flame for millennia, and I know he'll sacrifice himself for you. Yorm the Giant. Yorm the Giant accidentally. I'll talk about this guy after. Yorm the Giant accidentally killed his whole city, the profane capital. He accidentally burned everyone alive using the flame or something. Uh, that's rough. But at least he feels bad. You know, he sits in his throne, all sad. Wah, 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 my people are dead. You know, at least he feels bad. And I think I could change him. You know, I could change him from his fire-seeking, destructive ways. Like I could convince him to be a good guy. Like that's not the real him. I could fix him. So I give him an A tier, Yorm the Giant. Like he made a mistake, but we could fix that. High Lord Wolnir, he's weak, he's giant, he brings a bunch of skeleton friends. He basically has everything I don't like about he's a skeleton. I mean, he is everything you don't like in someone you're trying to date. You know, there's nothing good. He spits poison gas. He's in the abyss. Kind of a crappy house, if you ask me. He's like scared down there. He's like holding on to his little patch of ground because he's like scared to fall into the abyss. And I don't want someone scared. I want someone who'd like protect me. So I think High Lord Volnir has got to go into D tier. I mean, there's he's probably the most D tier there is. If I oh whoops, what'd I do? Oh, here. Okay, so I don't know how to add another tier. I like barely know how to use this site. I tried making my own tier list. It didn't even work, so I have to use like people's online. But I would give High Lord Wolnir like he'd be F tier down here if he could. He's probably the worst. Um, but yeah, that's the tier list. I'd say this one's a lot more evenly balanced than the Dark Souls 1 one. If I remember, I made that like 2 months ago. Uh, like, comment, subscribe if you want more Penneguini tier list content in the Soul series. I love playing the games, so I don't really care if my video gets like 10 views. I just make them for fun. I'd like to thank everyone. I got 800 views on the last one, which in the grand scheme of things isn't a lot, but for me, that's like half my channel's views in one video, which is kind of crazy. And I had comments from people who like are actually real people and not just my friends, and that's the craziest thing. So, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video.